In the first of 3 El Clásicos to be staged over the 4 weeks, Real Madrid will host Barcelona in the opening leg of the Copa del Rey semifinal on Thursday. And it's hard to say who the clear favorites are in this matchup, with both sides killing it and falling short at the same time. Xavi's side have put together an impressive 7-point lead at the top of the table and look to be on course for their first La Liga title since 2018. But the Catalan Giants missed out on a chance of amassing a 10-point lead on the weekend after suffering a shock 1-0 loss to relegation-threatened Almeria. That defeat, the first to Almeria in Barca's entire club history, made it 2 defeats on the bounce for Xavi's men after they crashed out of the Europa League at Old Trafford last week. So Barcelona come into Thursday's clash both top of the table and down on their luck, as well as missing key players Pedri and Lewandowski due to injury. Second place Real Madrid also dropped points on the weekend, drawing 1-1 against crosstown rivals Atletico and missing out on that much-needed chance to close the gap to the top of the table. But Carlo Ancelotti's side put a heroic display in the Champions League earlier this week, becoming the first side in European history to come back from 2 goals down at Anfield and win a game by a 3-goal margin. Real have beaten the La Liga leaders at the Bernabeu this season with Karim Benzema, Federico Valverde, and Rodrigo all on target in a 3-1 win back in September. And Los Blancos have won 6 of their last 8 games against their Clásico rivals. But Barca have the edge in the Copa del Rey clashes at the Bernabeu, going unbeaten in the last 5 cup matches in the Spanish capital. So in the 252nd El Clásico on Thursday, a win for Barca would put a league and cup double back on the table, while victory for Real could reignite hopes of an unprecedented quadruple. Real Madrid host FC Barcelona in the biggest match in world football. It's the first leg of the Copa del Rey. Barcelona 7 points clear in La Liga above Madrid after losing to Almeria over the weekend in what was possibly their worst game of the season, while Real Madrid tied city rivals Atleti. Joining me now is ESPN's Rodrigo Fáez, coming from Madrid. Rodrigo, how are you? Tell me how the feeling is in Madrid right now, just the day before El Clásico.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Well, now in Madrid, everyone is focused on Barca because they want to get kind of revenge of what you just said about the difference in between Barcelona and Real Madrid in La Liga tables. So they want to get that revenge in the Copa del Rey in this first leg, in which Real Madrid, at least what the supporters say, is that they need to get advantage, that Barca are not going to get Lewandowski, Dembele, or even Pedri, mostly Pedri, that Real Madrid supporters understand that he's like the key player for Barca, and they understand that they have to win Barcelona, and they want to win by maybe 2 goals to get a nice difference for the second leg, which is going to be like in 1 month around that. So that is why they are really passionate fans. So they want a great atmosphere at the stadium in order to win Barcelona.
Especially since Barcelona beat Real Madrid not too long ago in the Supercopa España. And I know those Madridistas are going to want revenge. Is the pressure on for Barcelona more so than Real Madrid in this first leg?
Yeah, I think so. Mostly, if you look back at what happened on the last weekend when Barcelona lost against Almeria, in the kind of game that normally Barcelona would win 9 out of 10 games against Almeria. We already know that Almeria is trying to escape, to get away from those relegation positions. So that is why now the pressure is on Barcelona. Now they are number 1 on the table, or La Liga table, and now they are main favorites to win La Copa del Rey, because Real Madrid is not the kind of team that it used to be last season, because they are struggling a lot on defense, and due to Benzema's injuries, they have a lack of goals, of scoring goals this season. So that is why Barcelona should be the main favorite, but still they have those injuries with Pedri, Lewandowski, and Dembele. So let's see what happens, because I think it's a nice test for Xavi to know perfectly if Barcelona is going to be ready for this final rush of the season, because they're going to face Real Madrid not only this Thursday, but 3 times in between Copa del Rey and La Liga Clásico. And let's see if they can cope with that pressure that, coming from Real Madrid is going to be massive.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Barcelona started off this year, 2023, so strong. They only conceded 1 goal to Betis before this past weekend against Almeria. They, of course, beat Real Madrid. They beat Betis again in the Supercopa. But recently, there's been a shift. Of course, there's injuries like you mentioned, Dembele, Lewandowski, Pedri. They're bringing in younger players like Alarcon. But something has shifted with Barcelona. Losing to Manchester United, getting knocked out of the Europa League. This is the sixth, seventh consecutive year Barcelona are not competitive in Europe. And then over the weekend, losing to Almeria. Is it just a matter of injuries for Xavi's side? Or is there something else going on, you think, with this side? Are they losing their motivation?
No, it should be only about injuries. But the thing is that, when you are Barcelona, before Guardiola and Messi era, we remind Barcelona being like the kind of club, full of victimism and try always to beat Real Madrid because they were like the second team in Spain. It got balanced in the last 10 years. So that is why now is the test, the definitive test in order to see if Barca are going to go back to those years before Messi and Guardiola, in which they were like the second contender and they were like years ahead or years behind Real Madrid. To see, okay, we don't have Messi again, we don't have Guardiola, we don't have Luis Suarez, we don't have Neymar anymore. So let's see if with the young squad that we have now, we are able to beat Real Madrid. And with Xavi, who for me is an under construction coach, he's very young still for that bench. But I mean, I think he's doing quite interesting things. But the thing is that finally those things could be really interesting. But at the end of the season, if they don't win La Liga, he's going to be sacked for sure. I think it's my opinion, it's not information. But it's like the time to see if they are ready enough to face Real Madrid in this kind of strange season in which Real Madrid are not really fit enough for the big titles. But let's see. That is why I think it should be only about injuries, because when you see this season, you see Barca on defense. They have improved a lot since last season. The midfield, I think, that has improved a lot too. And you got Lewandowski in the squad. So, they should win La Liga and they should face Real Madrid and at least compete in these Copa del Rey semifinals. But let's see, because if you shake now this moment, Real Madrid are going to bite you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Just on Lewandowski quickly, I know in Spain, a lot of people are saying it. Is Barcelona, Lu Independencia? Is this true? Do you believe this? Because looking back, he's really scoring so many goals. I actually think he's not getting the credit that maybe he should be getting. But Barcelona relies so much on him to score. As of late, we saw Pedri a little bit scoring a few goals. Now he's also injured. We know Dembele is gone. Ferran Torres, I'm still unsure how he's fitting into this side. So how do you feel? Is it too much reliance on Robert?
Yeah, I think there's a problem with Lewandowski. First of all, because his adaptation in Spain at the beginning of the season was outstanding. I mean, it looks like he was playing for Barca for years. But then, I think since Qatar World Cup, I think he went down a little bit, and with the injuries that he have suffered, I think he got a bit lower than everyone expected to be. So that is why now sometimes if you look back at the past month, if you see the Barcelona games, it looked like he was kind of lost. I mean, if you compare this part of the season to the first or the early beginning of the season, and you see like two different Lewandowski. At the beginning, he was like the teacher of everyone. Like, okay, I'm the old guy. I'm the one who has to score these goals, and actually he did. But now it's like, okay, I am the one who has that charge of scoring goals, and I mean, he still does it, but not that before. And I think that he lost the touch of the beginning of the season. So that is why it's like, okay, I know that this year is like a transition year for him, because Barcelona tactics are completely different than the tactics that he used to play with at the Bundesliga. But he has to be more present on that attacking tactics of Barcelona. So that is why it's like, okay, you need to score. Okay, you are scoring, but you need to score a little bit, because if not, you have Dembele injured too. You got Ferran Torres. I mean, Ferran Torres is nice and I really like him, but he only played in his natural position for a couple of times in this season, and it's not enough for Barcelona to depend on Ferran Torres. And then Ansu Fati, he's young, he's really talented, but at the end of the day, he needs a little bit more to be a Barca striker.
Yeah, and Ansu Fati is also coming off of a bit of a bruised knee injury, so I'm curious to see how he will play. But let's shift our focus to Real Madrid. They also started this year, actually opposite of Barcelona, looking a little bit wobbly in La Liga. They lost to Villarreal, Mallorca. They drew La Real. They drew Atleti. But we see them in the Champions League, 2-0 down to Liverpool in Anfield, and they come back. They score 5 goals. This team knows how to turn it around. What's the biggest difference, in your opinion, when you see Real Madrid competing in the Copa del Rey or La Liga versus the Champions League? Because for me, it's almost two different sides completely.
It looks like they take it more serious when they are playing Champions League. I mean, we all know that Real Madrid prefers Champions League rather than any other tournament, but there is something on the Real Madrid supporters that really get on their nerves. That difference in between Copa del Rey or La Liga and Champions League is not the same team that played in Anfield and they made that comeback against Liverpool than the one that played against Mallorca or the one that lost against Villarreal. I mean, they need a bit more because Real Madrid is the kind of team, and I think that this is a unique from Real Madrid, that they need to win every single year, and doesn't really matter who's playing, and doesn't really matter who's the coach, but they need to win because they never wait for anyone to win. I mean, if you compare it with Barcelona always is an under construction team, and you can wait maybe 1-2 years to see if they are fit enough to face Real Madrid and win something. But Real Madrid never waits. That is why Real Madrid is the biggest club ever. And this is really maybe challenging this year, because if you compare Real Madrid this season to last season's Real Madrid, looks like there is a huge difference. Last year, Real Madrid was a block. They attacked together and they defended together. So that is why they won Champions League. They did those comebacks against PSG, Chelsea, or Man City. And that is why Real Madrid won La Liga with 4 games ahead the end of the tournament. But now, I mean, this year they struggle a lot on defense. I remember a lot of games from Rudiger trying to adapt to Spanish football rhythm, which is completely different than Premier Leagues. And you can see how, for example, left back and right back, they are always injured. We all know that Mendy's injured now and he'll be out for at least 1.5 months more. We know how Carvajal is every regular season. I mean, with those ups and downs, which is like something weird for Real Madrid, and that is the difference. I mean, Real Madrid need to take this a bit more serious because fans and the club and the board of the club are demanding this due to their history and the players that they have. So that is why they need to be back with that Champions League spirit rather than La Liga spirit in that Copa del Rey Clásico.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the way they're going to line up against Barcelona, we know that they have to play Betis as well over the weekend. They got to go play Espanyol afterwards. They got to go back to Liverpool, play Liverpool, rather, welcome them to Madrid. And then they have to play Barcelona again. We know Tchouaméni is back, but Alaba is out. How do you think they're going to line up, knowing that they have a very tough schedule still ahead before the second leg?
This is a bit awkward because I was talking to a Real Madrid player before going live with you, and he told me like, okay, we don't know the lineup yet. I think Ancelotti is gonna wait for tomorrow morning or even in the afternoon, right after they have lunch, to give the players who's gonna play, because it's kind of challenging. Most of the times Real Madrid are okay, we're going to play with this, we're not going to depend on what the rival get started 11. So that is why I think they're going to wait a little bit and see, for example, what are the news on Barcelona and the latest from Xavi's squad to see who's going to play, because I think that tomorrow we're going to see Real Madrid trying to attack and trying to get the ball possession from Barcelona. But I mean, talking about the lineup, no one really knows who's going to play.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could see Valverde pushing up if Tchouaméni comes into the middle. I don't know, but it should be what I hope is a very exciting match between the two. I live for El Clásico. I know so many football fans do. I just have to ask you before we wrap this up, your prediction for tomorrow's match, but also your prediction for who will go through.
Okay, my prediction for tomorrow, I think, is going to be a very equal game, but I think Real Madrid are going to win. And I'm going to say that they're going to win 3-1. 3-1. because I think that Barcelona will score, but Real Madrid are going to score a little bit more, and I think Real Madrid are going to get through because I know how Barca works, and as I mentioned you before, Sarah, I think they're a bit shaky now at the moment. Like, okay, we're not ready enough for this pressure that Real Madrid are going to put on us. So that is why I think Real Madrid will go through.
Wonderful. The magical 3-1 could be once again for the third time this season. Rodrigo Fáez from Madrid, ESPN's journalist. Thank you so much for joining us. Barcelona take on Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu on Thursday in the first leg of the Copa del Rey.